Welcome, everybody. This is Starting Out Bright. I'm Noreen Savage. Thanks for being here. And you are in for a treat because Dorie Wexler is in here in the house. And so looking forward to talking with her tonight. But before I do, I just want to introduce myself, who I am and who I'm not. First of all, I'm nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me. I got acquainted with it through my friend Lori. She posted on Facebook 2019 that she lost 57 pounds. Anybody interested could just ask her any questions, hit her up. And so I did. My hot little fingers got over to Messenger, and she proceeded to tell me about a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book is described 4 bright lines: no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed in measured portions. And when I saw that, I thought, absolutely no way. There was no way that I could do that. But I trust my friend. I love her to pieces. And we went out for lunch. And from there, she suggested that I do more, that I get the book and that I get into the community, this online community that is not known to everybody. And so I did. I got the book. I got in a private group called We Eat Bright with Lines, still there today, as well as many other groups, including the Bright Line Eating official group, which is public. And we have Starting Out Bright, which is private, but many other groups. But anyway, I was in the one, and I just sat and watched transformation after transformation. Then and now photos of people losing weight, like a lot of weight, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds. And I decided that if I did this for 1 year, I would do what my friend did. I would be brave and post on my Facebook page, and I would help anybody I could. And where was I at the time? 270 pounds. I was 135 pounds overweight. Now that first year, I didn't lose 100 pounds. I haven't gotten to 100 pounds yet, but I lost 56. And for me, that was amazing in 1 year to be able to do that and keep it off. And from there, it's been 3 years and I'm now 90 plus. But my life has changed. No more snoring, no more backache, no more swollen feet, no more threat of diabetes around the corner. So it's been life-changing to me. When I got to posting that 1 year at the 1 year mark in July 2020, I got ready to do it. And I'm a Christian, and I felt God saying, Noreen, you can do more than that. You can connect people. All these people that have inspired you, if you could just connect them with the ones who need help and hope, wouldn't that be great? But who would come? Well, I'll tell you who'll come. It's like Dorie, like without even hesitation. Dorie said, yes, sign me up, because she knows the value of reaching out and helping. And we will talk all about that tonight. So without anything further, please help me welcome Dorie. Hi, Dorie. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm so good and so grateful to be here, to be sitting with you and you all. I see you on my sidebar and I can scroll and swipe screens and see all of your beautiful, bright, lovely hearts and souls. So I'm so happy to be here.
And I'm so glad to. And we had a chance to talk this past week, which was wonderful to get to know you before tonight and some of these things that really have been important to you on your journey. And I want to start with that because I told a little bit about my story, but if you could bring us back into, not everybody will just jump into bright line eating. Where were you? Like, what was your journey before you got there? What brought you?
Well, I have been dieting since childhood. So, like many of us, we start young. We at a young age, we start with the dieting and I'm not enough and I want to look a certain way and all of this. And so I had been dieting since childhood, 13 years old, dieting, diet after diet after diet. And before Bright Line Eating, I would say I was a master at dieting. I was total master at dieting. I tried everything, all the things, everything from packaged meals to pills, bars, shakes, supplements, shots that I would administer myself, shots I would have other people administer. I mean, all the different things. And the one thing was that I was such a pro at dieting. And every time I got on a new diet, I was ready right away to be like, oh, you got to do this high fat, high protein, low carb, no carb, 2 carrots a day at one point. I was engaging in self-harm and all of this. And when I started Bright Line Eating, it was very, very different. And I had such an emotional weekend, the weekend that I realized that the fight that I was actually fighting, this dieting situation, it was not something that a bar, a pill, a shake, or anything could fix, because I realized I was an addict. And so I had, now as I look back at it, I'm like, I was a pro dieter and I had to wonder, was I addicted to dieting itself? Was I addicted to the euphoria of the actual, like, oh, it's a new diet. We're going to start. We're going to have this, going on. We're going to get all the things and it's going to be perfect. And I'm going to exercise 7 days a week. And I'm going to eat two pieces of this and 4 pieces. And I'm going to count some points. I'm going to do all the things. And then I would...
And not to mention ahead of time, you're forecasting for a month or two now. If I lose 2 pounds every week, then I'll fit into the next size.
Yes, like I was going in all in, but it would quickly fizzle out. And so when I found Bright Line Eating, and that we'll talk about how I found Bright Line Eating, I was just blown away because I have been around addiction my whole life. And so I really lived my life like, that's not going to be me. I have a strong inner controller. I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer. I'm used to being, coming to the rescue for all the addicts in my life. And I am the one. I work hard. I work long hours. I keep things on lockdown. And so to realize that I was the one thing that I said I was never going to be.
Wow.
Right. It was just so emotional and so mind-blowing to me. And it hit real hard and real deep.
Now, did you feel that way because did you take the susceptibilities test, or what was it that really pinpointed that you felt in line with what Susan talks about being a food addict?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think all of us sort of have, a similar theme, but also different narrative, a different story. And so, with all the diets that I'd done before, I would start, stop. I would get there, never stay there. I would suffer along the way. I would engage in self-harm, like I've mentioned, all these different things. And I just, at one point, I like food. I do. I like food. I like the way it tastes. I like the way it looks. I like to eat. And that's that. That's it. And when I was on another trend, I was doing a keto, something like this. I saw a friend of mine. We were all sitting at a table doing what we do after one of my workshops. Everybody's eating. And, she was like, I think you should take a look at this, because she saw me trying to do like the keto style at the restaurant. And when she sent me that by text message, I clicked on it. It was a website. It was a lot of information. I was so used to the bells and whistles. I wasn't used to the deep stuff. I was used to the bells and whistles. Show me a before, show me an after, show me in 3 bullet points what you're going to do for me to help me get to where I need to go. That's the New Yorker in me. Like, tell me, right? I wasn't used to the whole like science. I wasn't used to all the words on the screen and all that business. So when I tapped on it, when she sent it to me a few years back, I saw it and I was like, don't think so, right? Because I didn't see all the fancy stuff, right? That you tend to see with other things. And so I did away with that thought. I kept on my journey. I kept gaining, losing, gaining, losing, gaining. And then one day, my husband forwarded me an email. And he said, I really think that you should read this email, because I just feel like this spoke to me in such a way. And I think this might be similar to your struggle. And so I read it and I thought, like, who is this person? Why is she in my head? Like, I thought I was the only one that would get up at midnight if I wanted to go and drive 20 miles to get that thing that I would really like to eat right then, right there, because I've done that. And I was like, who is this person? What is this program? Why is she speaking my language? And the way it was so descriptive, I was just like, oh my gosh, what? There are others. There are others of us out.
Amazing.
That will stop at nothing to get the next, dozen of this, pint of that, gallon of this, right? At no matter the time. And so I was so tugged right here on my heart that I clicked through to the website. I watched her video. And as we all do, we get just, taken into the video and what she's explaining and the beautiful way it's explained. I understood. Then I was like, wait a minute. I've dabbled. I have multiple addictions. I've come back from other stuff, but I never thought that food was the thing for me, like the main theme. Like, I have multiple addictions, but the leader of the pack for me is food, straight up food. I have many addictions and I work one day at a time, recovery every single day, but the leader of the pack was food. And I didn't realize it until then that was a real thing. And so I was so wowed by it that I was like, wait a minute. I grew up with addiction. Every relationship I've had has been surrounded by addiction. I've had my things pawned. I've been abused. I've been all these deep things in my life that have happened as a result of addicts. It just never left my side. Never left my side. And when I realized that I was in the ring with addiction, that changed everything, because I was used to, surviving through addictive everything.
Like watching the addict, and you're like, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that, but further, I problem solve everything. Like, I make sure that those that have come into my life that are addicts, that like, I was always like the rescuer, the fixer, the problem solver. I'm the one that's going to make, get things done, and, when I realized that was the thing, I said, oh gosh, like the one thing I said that, that I would always be in control. I would never be an addict, like strong, like into one particular substance, right? That just took over my whole life. That substance that wants you done, that wants you out, Yeah. And so when I realized that, I knew that I was in the ring with something that was bigger than me. That's something that is part of my lineage, something that runs through my veins, something that wants me done.
Wow.
And when I realized that, I said, I'm in. And this lady, SPT, I like what you're selling here, lady. This is like the new, I like what I'm hearing. I like what you're saying. And I believe you because you spoke in that email, in these videos from the mind of here, where I felt like we're the same. So when I knew what I was in the ring with, I then went in 14-day challenge, Bright Line Eating Boot Camp. And I knew that since it was the fight of my life, because I'm tired of addiction. I'm just tired. I'm fed up with it. Like, you know what I mean? The addiction wants to get you alone in the room every single time, because that's when it's most powerful. So, I was like, I'm done with that. So
it wants everything. It wants to steal every bit of your joy, because you have to do this alone. People don't go out and eat, massive quantities or anything in public normally. It's like with the closed curtain.
Oh yeah. And honestly, just like, when we have those that struggle with, substances and things like this, like there's ways, honestly, if we are on it, like if I'm honest with myself, I know that even if I'm dining out with someone and I'm eating a little plate of, I don't know, this little piece right here, that I'm pretty sure that on the way home, I'm going to get all the things that I really wanted to eat. And I'm going to do what I do best. And that is eat until I can't feel no more, So as I started the boot camp and the 14-day challenge in the boot camp, I literally knew that since this was a big fight, this was not like a little fight. This was not something a bar was going to fix. This is not something that, it was a fight. It was a fight where I needed to be I needed my gloves on. I need my shield, my armor on. I need to be ready for battle. So I literally took a look at my life, my to-do list, the different projects I work on, and the different things that I do. And I said, all right, what needs to go that's not that important right now to make space for permanent, complete, and total transformation and victory over this addiction that's been following me since childhood, And that's what I started to do in order for me to work one day at a time, in order for me to do that. Now, in the process of doing the boot camp, we talk about my friend from a few years back that sent me a message and said, I think you should look into this. You might like this. And I just kind of said, too much words on the screen. I don't know about it. It's like, and then the email my husband sent, and they were the same thing.
Wow.
They were the same exact thing. The email that my friend sent me was in the earlier stages of Bright Line Eating, the text message. Earlier stages of Bright Line Eating. So it was the older version of the website. And then what my husband had sent me was also from Bright Line Eating. And so Bright Line Eating found me. I said yes. And it was in my opinion, it was the planting of those seeds. Somebody found it, like somebody who struggles with food, who's a dear friend of mine, felt so comfortable and vulnerable to say, like, this is what I do. I think try that, check this out. Mm-hmm. And then my husband, who loves me and doesn't want me to die at the hand of addiction, right, said, I love you. I love you no matter what. I see the struggle that you face. I want you to be with me forever. I want you to be grandma to my children, right? I'm a stepmother. I have 4 stepkids. He sent it to me. Check it out, just so you see. And it was a planting of seeds.
And you took that and you ran with it. And I took it, yeah. And I want to just talk a tiny bit more about just the addiction, because you spoke so amazingly about it the other day. And you said your antennae were just totally up, because when you realized it was addiction, because you had said, I lived with addiction. And this is something that has led to more work on your part of your inner work.
Yes.
Like you were saying, as a child, you developed these skills, coping skills, because children, what was it? They don't talk, or wait.
Yeah.
How did it go? They don't.
And I didn't realize this, once we start on the path towards transformation and freedom, I love that we have our Bright Line Eating and we have our 4 lines, and we, those are just, that's my life force, and on one layer. But other healing starts to happen. We take a deeper look, and I started to realize like, wow, okay, yes. And so one of the things that I never realized I did in this world as I, navigated in my old skin, my old outfit, was a don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. And that is, those three things became so crucial for me because, don't talk about real things. Like I come to a crowd, some of you guys know I'm a dancer, I'm a fitness instructor. It's my job to get out there and talk and present content and all this kind of stuff. It's my passion. I love it, but it's don't talk about real things. Don't trust. We don't know if they're going to be around forever. We don't know if they're legitimate. We don't know if they really like us, love us, have our best interests in mind. And don't feel, because feeling hurts.
Right.
When you get burned, when you get betrayed, when you have an expectation, somewhere, when you want somebody's healing for them more than they want it for themselves. And so on my journey, I've realized that even though I've spent all my life thus until Bright Line Eating in that way, that I needed to do the opposite, that I needed to do things intentionally to trust, to feel, to talk about real things. And that is why I started posting about my journey on social media.
Right. Which is
because I
incredible.
hadn't done that. I posted my first post on social media on December 19th, 2020. But I started Bright Line Eating October 2019. So because this journey was so hitting home for me that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in the ring with addiction. I'm done with addiction. I can't anymore with you. You're always in my face, and like all this kind of stuff. I took that year and few months to really do the work, under any and all circumstances and situations. I was like, I have to figure this out because I'm going to be alone in the room with my addiction for the rest of my life at certain times. And I have to be stronger than it. I have to be stronger than that voice. I have to know that when I'm not stronger than that voice, what am I going to do? Who am I going to reach out to? How am I going to tell somebody I'm in the ditch? I'm getting close to the ditch. What does it look like for me? What are my signals when I'm even near the ditch? Because that became important to me. Much like if I were to do let's say a Bible study, I don't just want to know the knowledge. I want to learn how to apply that. And I want to do it in all settings. So, I really spent that time focusing on that and saying, okay, we're doing it. But then when I realized that don't trust, don't talk, don't feel, that's when I did a brave thing. And I posted my before and after picture on my Instagram a year and a few months later.
Wow.
And from that moment, it is with my intention to speak from my heart in truth and transparency, with my feelings, and talk, and create recipes and trust people in that setting with everything that I share. And even if like I send a direct message to someone and it's a voice message, or the Marco Polos that we do now, all of that, whether my followers realize it or not, is very healing for me.
Right.
Because it's also teaching me, the opposite side of my conditioning.
Right. One thing you said the other night that really hit me, and I've already thought about it for myself. It's really easy for me to say, well, oh no, I don't do sugar or flour. But you go a step further. You kind of get out of the shadows, as you said, and you actually say, well, that's, I have a problem with.
Yeah, I do.
That is a very different take, because from what I'm saying, you just think, well, that's just another diet. Instead of now I'm thinking, no, I really need to be more vulnerable. And I think that honesty is what can connect with people. And that's what you're showing in your Instagram. You're just honest about it. You're out of the shadows, as you said.
Yeah. I mean, once, as you go through the Bright Line Eating journey, and as I went through the journey, it wasn't perfect. But I really trusted in the unstoppable. the word unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And like many of you here tonight and those watching later, we can do so many things when we put our mind to it and we're like, oh, I'm there. I'm getting that raise. I'm getting that promotion. I want that car, or whatever it is, all the wants of our life. And, I really held on to that word unstoppable. And I knew that part of my recovery, because for me, I've watched many of the addicts in my life just lie. And I really just want to be like, please just say the truth. Then we can try to do something about it, right? We can. And I knew that I had to be honest in order to get more vulnerable, in order to speak my truth, in order for me to come out of the shadows completely. And as my journey has unfolded, when people see me that they haven't seen me in a while and they notice the transformation, I, was like, well, I kind of feel weird. Like I don't, blah, 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 no sugar, no flour. And the backside of me said, they might think, oh, there she goes on another diet. And that to me, because of all the work that I have put into this, into it being a for real thing, like I kind of feel like off about that kind of thought process, like if someone says, there she goes, because a couple of people did say that once or twice in the beginning. Like I had COVID twice and I was a long hauler. And 3 people came up to me just a few months ago and said that they had heard that 2 people said that I lost because of COVID. That must have been COVID. And I walked into a work meeting once and said, wow, you must have lost all that weight from COVID. And you see that stuff, I'm like, we're going to squash that right here, right now. And so what I learned was when people say, oh, wow, and they come to me and they, first of all, I'm just wowed that they notice and that they see something about it, right? And I actually say, yeah, I've dieted a lot in my lifetime, and I actually struggle. I struggle with food and being addicted to food and sugar and flour. And it's something that I have placed a super duper focus on. And it's working out great.
Wow. That is just such a different way. I mean, and you can never unhear that. Once you hear that, you never can unhear that. So it has to sink in to someone else in the same way. And you've spoken truth, and it's out there. Then the cat's out of the bag. I'm admitting I have a problem with sugar and flour, and
right.
It's your truth and you can stand on it. But I want to get into the meat and potatoes, let's say, about, you said preparing for this big fight. You first of all got yourself ready. You kind of cleared some of your calendar. You got the stress out.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do about your food? Like, what was about the food? Because eventually you got on Instagram and you've been sharing the food. But when we talked, you're like, your food comes first, period.
Yes.
How did you make food first? Because I know you're extremely busy. I know you cleared your calendar a little bit then, but you're extremely busy. You travel a lot. Can you give us some examples of how you put food first in your life?
Absolutely. I at the beginning, when I made space for the program, my food was very basic because I was in the preliminary stages of understanding the PDF, absorbing the message, and figuring out, the scale thing, right? Weighing your food, and also wrapping my head around that, right? And I took that time to just keep the food really basic. But not so basic, because I like seasoning and flavor, like I have to like what I eat. I stand by that. I like flavor and seasoning. It's part of it's part of my blood. But I did take that time to just build some basic meals. And what I quickly learned was that certain vegetables or fruits or meals that I did eat that I didn't necessarily care for were a trigger for me, because I would be upset about it. I'd be like, I don't like broccoli. And I just committed to having broccoli. But who am I kidding? I don't like broccoli, So I immediately started to say, well, wait a minute. this is going to be like all the times before, unless I really take a deeper look at like, what are the things that I like, and how could I do it with 4 lines in place? What would that look like? So there were some experimental phases to that, of trying, do I prefer white potatoes? Do I prefer sweet potatoes? Is it, I'm Latin and rice and me, we go together like glue. And I'm like, or is it rice? And I do eat oats now. I do cook with oats, but at the beginning of my journey, you could not ask me to eat oats because I don't find it filling. I don't find that it works for me. So as I started learning, in bright line eating, my food has to come first in my life. This is my identity. My food has to come first. Therefore, I like to find the foods that really work well for me and how I roll, whether it's travel, whether it's food on the go, whether I need an all-in-one plate. So I really started to personalize my food. I didn't want it to feel like I was in jail. I don't use the word BLE compliant food. I don't use that word compliant because when I'm compliant with something, I'm up against a hardcore rule jail situation. I look at my food as, is this bright line eating consistent? Is it consistent with the way in which I eat? Mm-hmm. So I kind of flip it around a little bit. And while I do eat broccoli now and I do eat oats now, in the beginning, I really had to say, well, if I'm going to work these 4 lines, let me work it in a way that feels natural, that I can stay neutral about. But for example, I see some out there that do like hash browns as a breakfast grain. I still, and I'm not shy to, I'm not like too proud to say like, I can't do that because I like hash browns a little too much. Therefore, I would never just be like, here's my 2 hash browns with my breakfast. It's just, I want more. There's that piece of me. And I know that about myself, So as I got stronger in the kitchen with food, I started to analyze my relationship with myself and the kitchen, myself and the dining room table, myself and the restaurant, myself and eating with other people. And I started to realize like, wow, these are all the places, the locations where I did disrespect to myself, where I caused a lot of hurt. These were where my binges were. This is where my secret eating was, on the couch, in the dining room, and the kitchen counter. This is where I didn't think twice to grab something out of the garbage if it was like extra and I tossed it out. And then the part of me that wanted it was like, just grab it real quick. It's good. Don't let it go to waste. Like, eat it. Like there's a lot of damage done in the kitchen in my history and in my dining room, living room, and all of that. And so one day I realized that was reversing. So the more recipes I create in my kitchen, the more I take my time to prepare it, the more I prepare the batches of food ingredients that I prepare, the more that I do those things, the more respect I have for what happens. And so now when I prepare batches of ingredients, like here's a container of proteins, here are a container of grains, here are containers of vegetables already done and ready to go. It's a meditative experience for me because in that moment, I am present with my bright line eating. I'm present. I'm intentionally going, wow, look at these mushrooms. You're going to be so good on Tuesday. You know what I mean? Yeah. I get in that place and it becomes a rhythm and a flow and I get it all in my fridge. And so now I know when I open my fridge, there will always be bright ingredients in there, as well as other stuff for my family. I'll always have the plan A, and I'll always have a plan B meal in my freezer. So whether I'm in the willpower gap, whether life gets lifey, whether, something, crazy happens, if I open my freezer, I will pull out the plan B emergency bright meal that lets me know I am safe.
I love that.
I'm automatic. We got this, baby. We're going for it. You know what I mean? So I started to kind of develop little tips and tricks for myself to really make it work. But above all, the food that I do eat and the recipes that I do create, I love to feel natural with it. Like I enjoy it, but neutral still.
So that you're not like the hash brown situation, like, oh no, we got to make 2 more. but
Yeah.
it's more like you know yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember seeing somewhere, we didn't talk about this, but it was like you take your time too to eat.
I do. I take about 25 to 30 minutes to eat.
And that's really amazing to even slow down the process of eating, to actually enjoy the eating and, maybe fixing your table a little or whatever. Like
Yeah.
I really love that whole talk about like there were those moments of disrespect because even, at a party, I remember the first wedding I went to after starting Bright Line Eating. I think I might have been down like 40 pounds or something, but that was beside the point. My daughter, after the wedding, came to me and said, Mom, you're so different today. And I'm like, what do you mean? She says, you were so present. And I thought, wow, like, but I had to think, where was I before? Oh, I was looking at what was out and about at is the cake out? Is there another party favor out that's a food item? I was
Yes.
always looking, going around the tables. And to hear that I had physically changed in intimacy, talking to people, that really like shook me. Like I never
Yes.
forgot it. Like, wow, you noticed this? And so yeah, things
Sometimes
change.
others will notice it too before you notice it, right?
Yeah, I
Because
didn't.
you're like, what? Yeah. And it is, you're so right. It's like everything was led by food,
Mm-hmm.
everything before, like
Right.
whether I would accept an invitation or not, or the minute we went to that event, or, all this kind of stuff. And food really ruled.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Food does still rule, but it's bright food that rules,
Right.
because
It
my food has
is
to come first,
this doing Bright Line Eating, I've said many times, it's not just about the food, but it is about the food too.
Yeah.
You're doing the inner work, like why did I come to this place? And there are different reasons for everybody, like what led me here, but then how do I structure this? And so I do want to ask you a little bit, because you've been traveling so much, how do you make that possible when you travel? What do you do specifically? I know you said you even pack something in your suitcase, but
I
what does
do.
that look like
I
on a
do.
quick trip when you're going
Oh,
to
sure.
one of your workshops?
Sure. Yeah. Well, since I know that, food for me is, I will say that, before I used to like run and get whatever and go to the drive-throughs and like all these things and like, spend all that money and everything like this. And, eating bright meals is so satisfying. It's so satisfying. When I get to sit and have my stuff that I create, it's just, I don't know, it's just, I can't even explain it yet, but it's just one of those things like I can breathe. It feels better. It tastes better. Like so much changed in the brain and the taste buds and how I feel, the peacefulness. Like my bright food is what soothes me. And that's wild to me. That is wild. I could be in the craziest of places, right, Deb? Are you shaking your head? Yes. Like you could be like in a place, but then you sit down to a bright meal and you're like, oh, there's good in the world. This feels really, really good. Deb is like,
Right.
yes. So when I travel, it's very important because when I travel, it's heightened. When I travel, it's not to go on vacation. For the most part, it's not to be like, okay, we're going to go on vacation. We're going to do this. No, when I travel for work. I travel for work. I try to couple it with vacation vibe, but I'm in a heightened place. I'm being pulled in multiple directions. I'm running on fumes and exhaustion. So I learned, because the first day of my Bright Line Eating Bootcamp, day one, I was on a plane to Arizona. And if you're from Arizona and you're on the chat, type something in the chat, because I go to Arizona at least twice a year for work. And I had to figure it out. Like, I was like, what are we going to do here? Day one of the boot camp. So what I had learned thus far from the materials, I was like, okay, we're going to pack in my carry-on. We're going to get my yogurt. We're going to get non-perishable stuff that I can eat within the next couple of hours. and we're going to make sure we're good. So from that first trip, I ordered my groceries from Instacart. If you guys don't have Instacart, get Instacart. And I ordered my groceries. So when I got to the destination, after the long day of 2 planes and a 90-minute ride to the place where I would lay my head down every night, my groceries were there. I let my host know groceries are coming, and my groceries were there. And so it was day 1 of the boot camp. So as long as I knew my groceries were there, I could make my meals happen. I also did get coaching support during that time from the Bright Line Eating official coaches to help me through exhaustion that was no doubt going to happen. And so as I travel now, I still do the same thing. So I have 2 different ways in which I travel. I either travel by road trip. And in that case, you have to check out one of my posts about what I pack in that luggage. So I travel in my car, road trip. I have 1 suitcase that's dedicated to the kitchen. It's got a hot plate. It's got a griddle maker. I've got cutting boards that are flat. I've got portable knives, my portable scale, my portable dishes, my everything portable in there. That way, when I get to where I need to go, I can take some time to move in. I need to move in the bright way because when I wake up the next morning, I have to feel like I'm in my bright identity. So when I wake up the next day, my kitchen is set up. If I'm in a hotel, I repurpose all of the trays inside that hotel room, the tray that holds the correct little mini coffee maker, the ice bucket. I take anything and everything in that room that's a tray or a bowl or a bucket or a cup, and I repurpose it for my kitchen. The ice bucket becomes the fruit basket. The tray for the coffee maker becomes the portable foods. I literally put stuff away I don't intend to use in that room. I plug in my hot plate. Like I set it up if it's a road trip. Now, if I'm traveling on a plane, I still do have a suitcase that's called kitchen, but I don't bring anything, of course, that they'll confiscate, like a knife or something like that. But I do pack as much as I can so that when I get to where I need to go, I can move in.
Wow.
And, if I couldn't get something on either of those scenarios, I've got Instacart, which always delivers my groceries. Now, I've been in settings before where I've been in a convention and I was in a room. There's different rooms where different workshops are happening. And I was in my room where my workshop was happening. And I got no shame in my bright game. I ordered my groceries and asked them to come into this convention center, to come to this particular room, that somebody would be there to receive my groceries. And that way, when my workshop was over, I had groceries there to take back to my room. So I just learned that these are the things I have to do. I'd have to eat anyway. I'd have to have groceries anyway. So I do a lot of that.
And it's just worth it in the end.
Yeah.
The planning, the preparation. Mm-hmm. I love that you have to wake up in your bright identity. It's not like I'm on vacay, anything goes, because those are the things, it's the mind game right there.
Yes.
It's the mind game of, I'll do back on Monday, like old diets.
Oh, no. That's
Monday's done. We don't do Monday.
We don't do that. We don't do that anymore. Isn't that like you guys on the chat? We don't do Mondays anymore. We don't ever have to do that again, but, and also there are times when I'm with my family, like my 4 stepkids and their partners. We're a family of 10. And I have to be honest with them because I need to wake up in my bright identity. I need to go to sleep in my bright identity. I need to navigate through my day in my bright identity. And and honesty, that's where I tell them they know my history and they know the struggles. And so, we had a lot of NMF at a recent family thing, as well as bright. I make everybody eat bright. Like if there's 50% NMF on the table, I make sure there's 75% bright on the table. And my stepson came to me and said, "How are you doing?" He said, "Are you okay? Is any of that bothering you? Can I do something for you?" Like when you're honest,
Yes. When you're honest.
Who comes to you and says, "What do you need? How can I help support you?"
That's fantastic. I do have a few questions from the chat. One, has TSA taken away any of your food?
They tried to take away my sweet potato because it was big and they didn't know what it was. And they opened it up and it was a big sweet potato. Like it was one of those really big ones. And they took it out and I was like, it's a sweet potato, guys. It's a sweet potato. And they put it back in. They did take away like a butter knife in my portable utensil set. And I was like, that's fine. No problem. Okay. Take it away.
Just don't bring any fancy utensils you don't want taken.
That's right. Don't bring anything fancy.
And there was a comment here too by Deb. First of all, having you're consistent with BLE food that's packaged already. You have vegetables in the refrigerator. Automaticity at its finest. Yes. And she also said she would get anxious about parties, events, or buffets, worried about the food. Now you looking forward to the people first, and the food is secondary. What a novel idea, right? So here, there's a question. Are there thoughts or suggestions for doing BLE completely gluten-free and vegan or vegetarian? Have you tried that?
There's a lot of bright line eaters out there that are vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian. There's quite a bit. And I have to say that I was a heavy meat eater. I'm Puerto Rican, and I grew up with a certain diet that was heavy on pork, heavy on the fried foods, heavy on all the things. And it wasn't on purpose, but through my journey, I barely eat any meat. And that's because, there's options. My taste buds just start, don't get me wrong, I love my Puerto Rican food, but it's, I'd much rather have lentils and garbanzos and all different types of beans and work with nuts. And, there's so many different ways that you can work it. So to answer that question, I know a lot of bright line eaters that are vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, and they make it work with the food plan that we have. You're going to see food categories like proteins, grains, fats, things like that. And there is lists of all the things that they're suggesting. Now, the list doesn't end there, because if you have something, let's say like jackfruit, and it's not on the list, but on the Bright Line Eating Hub, there's a special area where we can type in the word jackfruit and they will have the answer as to how to include it. So I make a lentil batter, for example, and it's lentils that I soak for about 15 minutes in warm water, and then I blend it up and I keep it in the fridge. It's lentils, a little bit of seasoning inside, but lentils. And I use that lentil batter to make different things like pizza crusts and tortillas, lentil wraps, waffles, and all kinds of stuff like that. And, it works really well.
There is a question that they want to know a little bit more about your hot plate that you bring.
Sure.
Is it just a standard hot plate or a special one?
Standard hot plates, Amazon. You can get one on Amazon. And it's just a standard hot plate. And what I did to just really make it so that it was compact for me to travel, pull out, use, and clean all like in a hotel room, is I got the pan for it that I use as a specific pan for that only. It's my travel pan. I don't use it at home. So I have basically a suitcase for all my kitchen travel stuff. Mm-hmm. I got the same size pan as is the burner of the hot plate, so that when you're using it, everything cooks even, everything cooks nice. Your hotel room's going to smell nicey. People are going to come in and they're going to be like, what? Can you cook for us? Yeah.
That'll be awesome. I can't believe how the time is going away from us. Before we go, through all this process, and I know that you started in the 200 range, and you said that you had a number, I believe, that you wanted to hit, but then you surpassed that number. And that would be a scale victory, but what are some of the non-scale victories too? What did you end up being in your range of maintenance? And then also, what are non-scale victories?
Yeah. So I, dieting since forever, I always had this number of what I thought and I don't even remember how I came to that number, but it was and I think many of you might be able to relate on this chat, or who you guys are watching later, the replay. that we've done so many diets, that we've punched our information into so many different platforms that kind of tell us what we should be.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, you know, of course, I was like, I have this number, I have this number. That number was always 125. And once I started Bright Line Eating and I watched the video module on determining like what, you know, what is your goal range? What is your goal weight? Then I started to, you know, do the French formula and all of these different little things. And I was like, wow, it's saying like I should be 123. And I was like, unheard of. Like, are you kidding me? 123. And I was like, okay, let's just leave that alone because that's old me. Let's not, lead thinking about that. Let's just take it one day at a time in my recovery. And then a year later, after starting Bright Line Eating, I got on the scale and I was like, okay, let's get on the scale like we do. And I got on the scale and I was 119. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, what? I was 119. I got off the scale. I was silent. I had total pause. And my emotions just started to come up. And I was just like, I got to get on again. I got to get on again because I don't understand what's happening. What is going on here? I got on again. It said 119. And it was such a moment of I have arrived. I have arrived. It was a moment where I felt the chain was broken. It was a moment where I felt that a little tiny bit of the true, authentic me had arrived.
Wow.
It was just so profound. And it was a quiet moment because I trusted it. I trusted it. Because a year into Bright Line Eating, when you're doing it and you're doing it through any and all situations, and you're like, oh man, I have to, this didn't work out so well, and then you're like, next day, we got it.
Right.
Things happen in the year and you still make it through,
Unstoppable.
And so right. When that day came, it changed a lot. It went next level. So through my journey, I do what's called freedom moments or firsts. And these freedom moments, we call them non-scale victories. Through my journey at the beginning, I kept a log of my firsts. My first, belt, my first plane ride where I could cinch the seatbelt like all the way. And I happened to be with my husband on that trip. And he recorded it because I was like, I was like,
Sally.
Yeah, I was blown away. I was like, excuse me, flight attendant, can I just tell you that I was able to just pull this the whole way? Just, can you be with me here in this moment? It was just so, all those firsts.
Yeah.
And the beauty about this journey is all of this, but here I am on maintenance. I'm on year 3. I'm free as bright can be. I'm like, I'm free. And it's not, it's not that it's like super easy. There's always going to be moments, but I still have freedom moments. Last week, I wore a coral, long, flowing dress and a belt. And that blew me away because I wear black all the time. And to wear a coral, long down to my ankles dress with a slit on the side on each leg and like wear that and put on a belt also, I felt sassy. Like I like feeling sassy. Yeah, you guys might have figured that out by now, but I like these types of feelings and things, right? So I put on that belt and I was like, here's a freedom moment.
Yeah.
Because I'm wearing the belt. I'm wearing a flowing dress. Flowing dresses and me don't work. Everybody out there, I'm just going to say it. I'm busty. So when I wear things that are flowy, makes me look bigger than I am. You can't see my waist. So wearing a flowy dress, number 1, having it be all one color coral. And number 3 is the belt.
Wow.
And, that was a freedom moment, So I keep logs of, or in my journal, I just write down when a freedom moment has happened or a first, a non-scale victory, like many of us do. And that really has continued to fuel. It's taught me to look, to look really at what this beautiful journey is. And my identity is now in action every single day.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, like addiction is always on the outer bleacher seats, waiting to get me alone, right? To whisper all these things in my ear. But, I have to be stronger than that. And so these are just those little ways that I like to do that.
And as you said before, when we talked before, you knew when you were battling addiction, you've seen addiction your whole life, and addiction has seen you.
Yes, it has.
And that is an incredible awareness. It's lived with you your whole life, waiting for this moment. And so now is your time to put your gloves on and like, you know what? I'm stronger than this. And you knew the fight. That's what's so, we can go in there kind of willy-nilly, but you knew the fight when you realized it was more than just picking the right foods. You were battling an addiction. This is so, so different, and such an awareness and insight. So I have one more question, and I know that someone is going to watch this who's never heard of bright line eating before. What would you say to them about giving it a shot? They might have just gotten a text from their friend and said, there's this program, and maybe you can watch this video with Dorie in it. What would you say to them?
I would say that when you're here watching this, it's a meant to be situation. It is. I wasn't ready when my friend sent it to me, but I was ready when my husband sent it to me. And so this journey, when you look at it and you think, oh, bright line eating, oh, 4 lines, oh, I got to weigh my food. Oh, I can't eat no sugar, no flour. What's life going to be like without sugar and flour, right? When you start to give these messages to your mind, what I can say is give it a chance. Give it a chance. We've given other things a chance that cost $800 for that lifetime membership, $1,000 for those shots. All the things we did before. And this is a book. This is a book. You can read it. And if you like the Bright Line Eating website, I'm a big fan of the website and the courses and how you are held. You are held through this entire journey. You are taught, and you wake up one day and you're on the scale like, what just happened here? I'm actually here. So I would say for the person who's thinking about it, who's watching, check out the book. Watch Susan Pierce Thompson in the vlog that she does. We've done so many things before this. This is just a book. It's not frozen meals. It's not, you don't got to count things like this. Like, it's a book. And if you want to go deeper into it, go to the website, watch. There's a free trial. Try some of those modules. And last but not least, I would say this to anyone: personalize your journey. Personalize your journey. You must enjoy the journey. It won't be perfect, but with every bright thing that you do, you'll get stronger. With every meal that you put together, you'll get stronger. You don't have to be perfect. If you don't like doing a nightly checklist, if that's not your thing, don't worry. Not that serious. Do it in the morning. Or maybe you don't even do that. Maybe you do the I'm done with the day list. Here's what happened today, right? You can really work this. I think sometimes when I see what's out there, that there is a feeling that perhaps this is rigidity, this is so many rules and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, no, I watched a video. It hit me to my core. I'm an addict. I don't want to die an addict. I have the entire rest of my life to wear coral dresses, to go and be a step grandma to my 4-step, to see all of that happen. I have an entire half of my life where I have hobbies and lists of things I want to do because I was too scared as a child, because I wasn't enough, because I'm an imposter, because I don't belong, because I'm not good enough, because I'm ashamed. I don't like how I look. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. I want to learn how to play piano. I want to learn how to sing. I want to learn how to do all these different things because I'm awake, because I'm free, because I watched a video, I read a book, I did the course, and I did the work in a personalized way. Right. That worked for me. That's it.
Wow. Wow, 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 Dorie. And to end it all up with the service that you've given too, with your inspiration in your Instagram and on your website, which I just found today and has these fabulous recipes to your blueberry bake that went viral. And I think there's a ginger mango or something like that. And all that kind of stuff. So that's DorieWexler.com. But also your Instagram is bright.light.borica. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, so it's Bright Light Boricua. And I know it's strange, guys. It's Boricua, and that's a Puerto Rican term.
What does it mean?
It's so the island of Puerto Rico is known as Borinquen. And it's my grandmother, she was like tiny indigenous from the Taino Indians, you know, that the culture, the original people in Puerto Rico. And so I wanted to be able to sort of put my Puerto Rican touch on it.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. And you're beautiful, Dorie, inside and out. Thank you so much for, first of all, just so generously saying thank you to tell your story and just giving so much to the community. It is so appreciated. Any last words before we close?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for being here tonight with us. It's so great to see you in real time. And for anybody watching out there, thank you for watching and for listening. And I would love to perhaps, and Noreen, I don't know how you feel about this. Yes, the website is sort of like up. It's like a new thing. I'm trying to get that off the ground. So bear with me as I do that, because many people have been asking me for my recipes. And I have no way of organizing them at the moment. They're all just on Instagram and TikTok. And I have fun doing those. I love doing those. That's where my creativity comes out in the cooking and the newfound love for, oh, look what we can do with this bright food, right? And so I could, if you were open to it, put some of these tips that I talked about in a little document and make it available to you guys.
Yeah, we can put it on Starting Out Bright in the private group. That'll work out. I'm also on Instagram, Starting Out Bright, Noreen. And so, you know, we can share it there too. And just stay connected. So you can go to, anybody can go to Starting Out Bright. And that is the Facebook group. So again, thank you, Dorie. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I appreciate it so much. And I'm going to say good night, as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bad bugs bite.
Love you. Be bright. Be bold. Be brave. Be beautiful.
So, Dorie, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
3 questions. Yes.
3 questions.
I'm fancy. I have my sparkling water. Hold on.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm going to take a swig of regular water. First question. And I got this from actually your Instagram, because you had said the other day, like, even before you unpack from a trip, you're worried about your food. And you mentioned Costco. So what would you get at Costco?
Okay, this is great. This is a great question. So this is a true story. My luggage on my recent trip stood. Is that even the way to say it? But it was on the floor for a whole week. I didn't even touch it because I knew that having the food, the groceries, everything chopped, ready to go was key. So my favorite things from Costco. So on the outer aisles, which is going to be the pantry items, I do love to get the cauliflower rice pouches and the brown rice pouches. Those are my Plan B meals when life is lifey. Okay. That's my grain, my breakfast grain and my portable or fast veggie cauliflower rice on the outer aisles. Also on the outer aisles, I love the Kinder's buttery steakhouse seasoning. These are my favorite seasonings. You got to write this down, guys. This is like the best. Kinder brand, buttery steakhouse seasoning, hardwood smoked garlic, amazing, and the salt and pepper blend. These 3 seasonings, fabulous. They're good all-purpose seasonings, and they go on everything. And on the when it comes to the frozen section, I love getting the 5-pound bag of the Normandy frozen vegetables, or the mélange. It's called mélange.
Oh, yeah.
And, yep. They're also 5-pound vegetables that are already seasoned and ready to go. I love those 2 vegetable, like those. That's what I keep in the freezer, emergency, the backup vegetable when I'm like, you know what? I don't have time, this week to be all about chopping a million heads of lettuce and things like that. So yeah, I love those. And on the fresh veggie side, mammoth blueberries that are huge. Like, I love them to be huge. I don't like tiny blueberries. Like, I literally will be all about those blueberries. Like, I'm like, hi guys, step aside. I need to pick my blueberry container right now.
These are fresh or frozen?
Fresh.
All right.
They're big.
Anything else, or does that wrap it up?
Those are my favorites.
Okay, that's great. I did see a question in the chat, so I'm going to ask you about your maintenance, because you did hit maintenance, even surprised yourself with that number. Yeah. So I know you're a dancer and an instructor, but can you give us an idea what you did for your maintenance ads?
Sure. So I have an interesting situation, because I have maintenance editions and I have athletic editions. And so kind of knowing when to use them and, all of that. And so my athletic editions were according to how the BLE coaches guided me during the boot camp. And I still stick with that pattern. My maintenance editions, what I do is I leverage the power of the type of food that it is, because with maintenance, we're so used to eating weight loss that, like, we're kind of built for weight loss portions. Like, we like that. And so once we start adding the maintenance, most of the time we'll do it like little by little by little, because it's a lot of food to add in. Like, you're going to go from weight loss portions to all the maintenance additions all at one time. So what I do, for example, remember I said I didn't like oats?
Yeah.
I do like oats now, but for example, I actually yesterday posted what a maintenance addition looked like in my breakfast. So for example, for breakfast yesterday, I had an omelet, 4 ounces of egg white plus 1 egg. I added in there my rice, 4 ounces, boom, that's weight loss. Get my 6 ounces of fruit as weight loss. And for the maintenance addition, I did 4 ounces of Greek yogurt that I make homemade. So I know it's got 1 ingredient, milk, right? So it's 4 ounces of Greek yogurt. And I did 1/2 ounce of toasted oats that I toasted in my air fryer with some seasoning. And then I did 1 ounce of, the rest of the protein came from nuts. I just sprinkled it on there. So it was like a little tiny yogurt parfait on the side. It was topped with nuts and oats. And that was the maintenance addition. But it was literally like, there it is, But when I first started maintenance, I was like, I'm going to have all these eggs. And I was like, look at me trying to overeat. And I know that my belly can't do that anymore.
No, you'll feel sick, I think.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going to have 4 eggs today and like make this omelet. And I'm going to have 6 ounces of rice, because I can eat some rice. And I couldn't, it was just too much. So I just choose lighter proteins, softer yogurt. It's very soothing, nice. It's not going to be such a, Yeah. So
this is kind of an add-on to number 2, okay? Because you mentioned the athletic portions.
Sure.
And somebody was asking, what were those? Was it based on like, okay, it's going to be a 13-hour day or whatever, and I'm going to be running all day, or what? How did it work out?
Yes. So this is a great question. So when I teach a normal class, I work at gyms. I used to own my own dance studios, and I used to teach 21 classes a week way back when. Now I don't do that, but I still do long bouts of fitness. But when I do, for example, yesterday I taught my class, it's an hour, it's cardio. I'm into athletic mode. So I will follow the PDF that Bright Line Eating has available, where on the plan, they actually have on the maintenance plan, a little section towards the bottom bullet point that has like a certain amount of nuts that you can have as an athletic addition. So when I teach a 60-minute cardio class, like I'm conditioned for that. My body is used to that. So I'll have that, the nuts. And easy breezy, it's wonderful. I don't have it at the end of the day. I might just add it somewhere. I might add it right after that session. When I do my workshops and I'm going for 3 and 4 hours straight, then I actually do specific athletic additions that were the Bright Line Eating coaches, when I did a coaching call, researched for me after I said, this is what I do. This is what I do. I go 3 and 4 hours straight, and I do that for 3 days in a row. So that's 12 hours of cardio in 3 days. And they were like, we gotcha. Hold on a second. So they did some coaching around that. And so during those times, I have an extra grain at night before I go to sleep. Okay. And like with my dinner, I take in an extra grain after my workshop. I also do a little bit of a half a grain, a little extra fruit, a little extra protein. We never do anything separate. We put it all together like in another meal. And I do that. And so what happens is when I sleep, my muscles are getting everything that they need replenished following all the activity that I did. Yeah. And next day I'm ready. But my mind needed to get used to that, because my mind, I was like, oh, what if I wake up and I'm heavier? What if I wake up and I'm a little like my mind still needed to do its work to be okay with that. Yeah. And once I got over that little obstacle of the mind, I was like, oh, I'm good with this. Yeah. I'm good with I'll just
almost
have my
like, okay, that's just medicine almost.
Yeah.
Like medicinal purposes for my
it's for my muscles, it's for my muscles. And as long as I eat it with my meal. Now, if I eat it separately, that's no good. I need to eat all the food groups together.
And I have to say that I had COVID in December, and in January, I was just struggling because I hadn't been eating enough. I felt so carb depleted. I felt that I needed it for my brain. And so I'm like, I'm putting myself on maintenance with 1 extra grain a day for 2 weeks. I'm going to do it for 2 weeks, put myself on maintenance. It did the trick. It wasn't even a full 2 weeks. And I felt like, you know what? I'm feeling better. I'm done. My body's healed. I'm ready to go. But it was just like, there's no race. It's not like before we're starting and stopping all these diets.
Right. We don't do that anymore.
No, we don't do that anymore. And that leads to my third question for you. How does it feel to be normal? Because didn't you say that as a child and actually a teenager, I just wanted to be normal?
Yes. So, wow. Girl, you're bringing this to my heart. So yes, I have a strong inner controller and inner task manager. And at the beginning of my program, I was a crystal vaser, which is like, we guard it with our lives. We just do everything the way it's, I'm not going to shatter that crystal vase, right? I'm just going to keep it.
Right.
And, I in my inner work, my inner parts work and all of that, I was like, thinking like how I was raised and how I didn't feel normal. And all those diets that I did starting at the age of 13 and the quest to look a certain way, feel a certain way, belong to that group of people, and, all this kind of stuff started coming back to me, and as I started working with my inner child and the wounded child and, who, that time that person like literally shoved dirt in my mouth because I was chunky and they put dirt in my mouth to make me eat it. And it's like, those things started to flash back and I was like, oh, I need to do work here, So I realized really, I just want to be normal. I just want to be normal without this underlying condition of addiction. Like that just kept going, here. And so a few times when I've been out at restaurants and, let's say my husband goes to the restroom and I look around at the table and I find myself saying, I wonder here, like I see people eating and the different ways in which they eat, the mannerisms, the gestures. I see who's focused not on food. And I think you're weird. Like, you're not focused on food. You know what I mean? I see who's focused on food. I see who wants to be focused on food, but feels ashamed, like I did.
Oh.
Right. So I see that. And I started thinking, like, really, I just kind of always, I guess, wanted to feel normal. I want to feel like I can walk through every day normally without this constantly being the thing. And so I know that I'm always in the ring with addiction. I know that addiction is a thief and wants to come and steal everything I have, right? Including my peace is very important to me. And so when I navigate my days, I really still place that focus on, this is my bright identity. This is my normal. This is my normal. Come what may, this is my normal. I am someone who does not eat sugar, does not eat flour. That's refined sugar or flours, right? We eat fruit and things like this. I eat 3 meals a day. I like it. It works. I measure my food still to this day. I like doing that. It brings me peace. Have I eaten meals without measuring it? Absolutely. Have I survived that? Absolutely. Have I been at a restaurant and had a BLT, a bite, lick, or a taste of something? Of course, I'm human. But guess what? I'm normal because I didn't go all in to eat, or I didn't go home and eat in secret afterwards. So I said to myself, I guess this is what normal is, right? I can go
just carry on
my thing, and I can carry on like it's, let's get back, like, let's just do what we do.
And I think you also have the awareness when I don't want to do the hash browns. I don't want to do these kinds of foods, and having that awareness. And I think that might be normal too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really wild. So I'm exploring that feeling now and that idea, like what is normal for me, because in my mind, I've always said, I want to be just normal. Why do you don't struggle with this, but I do, like, why, and now I'm just like, wow, this is normal. Like, even on maintenance, when the scale goes up a couple of pounds, I'm like, it's normal. This is what happens. My body went up 2 pounds. I'm still bright. It's just the dance of
your clothes still fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And so it's really nice to explore that now and to say, wow, this is pretty cool. I guess this is what happens, in the normal world, per se, you know what I mean? But it feels very freeing. I really love it. But, when I do sit at a restaurant, and when I'm, even last night we had Bible study, and this topic, comes up, I have a heart for service. And, in my line of work, being a dancer, a trainer, a fitness instructor, I'm a choreographer for a leading company. There is an intense focus on spotlight, because we are in the spotlight, and we present content, and we dance, and we educate, and we do all these things. My heart hungers not for spotlight. My heart hungers for service. And it stirs in my spirit. And, I can't believe, after all of this time in my life, wasting so much of my life stuck in this place of addiction and self-harm and binging and all of that that now I have this new lease on life, this rest of, my life to do, to be, to, connect, to communicate, to learn things, to, experience joy and freedom and peace, no more poison. Like, I will choose my peace over poison any day. And to this day, if I see poison coming in the way of people, places, and situations and settings, I know now not to even step into that area.
That just gives me a chill, because you are still that boxer in the ring. I can just see it. But Dorie, never forget how much service you are giving. You have just opened yourself up with so much service to the community. Thank you so much. I thank you tonight from all of us for sharing your story. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
It's been such
Thank you for having me. And thank you guys for dedicating a portion of your night. to being here tonight. And those that are watching later, watch the whole thing. No, I'm kidding. Like, watch the whole thing, even if you have to speed it up. Because
and go to Starting Out Bright to get this pamphlet or whatever we're going to have there. So
yeah, of course. There's, the Bright Light Eating family is fabulous. We speak a similar language, and therefore we got each other's backs. You will find that if you're watching this, if you're here tonight, you'll find a common theme amongst us. We understand each other. Absolutely. Therefore, we have got each other's backs. You will never find a bright lifer out there flinging it and flying it solo, because there's someone there on the other end to meet you halfway to say, I got you. All you got to do is take one step. I got you.
What is that mantra that you said? And I've got it in the slideshow. Therefore,
Yes.
How does it?
I am the priority. I matter. I matter. Therefore, I am the priority.
And you really have to do that. And that is in getting your sobriety first. That opens you up to all this other, service. When you're sober first in this way. It's so much more.
Absolutely. I feel, and that's total. I'll be very honest in saying, like, I do feel like one needs to do their work before you can be of service. You need to do your work, because as you do this journey, things might surface that are going to require your attention, not only your attention, but your love towards it. One of my sayings when I'm in trouble and here inside something's happening, I will let someone know I'm tender right now. I'm a bit tender, and that helps whoever I know is in my corner, to kind of help me unpack some things. That's where we have mastermind groups, we have Gideon games, we have all these types of things with Bright Line Eating. And because, like, I can go to you, Noreen, I can go to Deb. If I was having a struggle, I can go to any one of you. I can go Judy, I can go Mary Jane, Sharon, and be like, I'm having a tender moment. Like, will you sit with me for a moment, just even on a DM on Instagram or a Marco Polo, because you'll understand what I'm about to unpack with you. And I'll understand what you're about to unpack with me, because we've got similar.
And I've done that with some of the people here. So anyway, I'm going to get going. Thank you so much again. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Stay bright. Good night.